The last time, where are they?
I keep telling you, I don't know.
No, you're lying. And I know you're lying. Because this is what you're threatening to do yesterday, isn't it?
No! Honest!
Tell me the truth! Right now!
Can't you see she is telling the truth?
They're not here. There's no sign of either of them.
Get him out of here.
Bray, come on.
We're wasting our time here.
Maybe!
Let's go. Sorry, we made a mistake.
Yeah. You made a mistake, all right.
Welcome to Series 3, Episode 38 of Conversations on Eagle Mountain, a podcast about the tribe. I'm your host, Lance, and joining my podcast panel today is Liz.
Hello.
And Sabine.
Hi.
We have episode notes done by Matt and myself. So Series 3, Episode 38. The screenplay was done by Anthony Reed. It was directed by John Reed, and the episode synopsis was read out by Sabine.
Bray struggles between his head and his heart as he tries to track down the kidnappers. Lex issues an ultimatum to Tai-San, and Jack makes a discovery.
I'm just going to say it. I really liked this episode. I thought the writing was sharp. It was great direction, use of lighting, color. The scenes were interesting and dynamic. I like this episode.
Yeah, no, I did enjoy it. It's just some of the reactions. But yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot happening in this episode, but it's not dragged out for half the episode on one simple little topic.
A lot gets covered, and there are a lot of thoughtful conversations happening around those subjects. And we had a chance to actually sit with the characters and hear their inner thoughts. Like there's somebody they're confessing those thoughts to. And I just really... I can't think of a single moment that I really didn't like. You know, there were some scenes I was like, it's not my favorite, but I can't say that any of them were just, it was just bad. You know what I mean? Or not necessary. Like this was solid for me. And I only point that out because of the crap that we've been wading through. I figure I have got to give praise where it is. I wouldn't have had to do this in earlier seasons. It would be a given that the episode was pretty good.
That's very fair.
What's going on?
Everybody stay cool and nobody gets hurt. Where are they?
Bray, what do you want?
You know what I want, Moz. Now, where are they?
Who? I don't know what you're talking about.
What have you done with them?
What is this?
Amber and Trudy, what have you done with them?
So, yeah, I mean, short scene, but there's a lot going on. Like, kind of ignoring the fact that only 3 of the Morats were storming the Mozquitos base. Let's focus on kind of Bray's behavior. Like, because I thought this was kind of completely different side that we hadn't seen from Bray before. Because, like, he was really going to strike Moz. I mean, what did you make of that?
I don't think it came out of nowhere. We saw that he is capable of reaching this point when, he found out that Ebony is the reason that Amber was literally ripped from his life. As dumb as that storyline is, his reaction to it was pretty valid. So we saw that, Bray does have a line. And if you cross it, there's really no controlling. He can't really control his emotions and clearly doesn't have a problem hitting a woman. Like he was just like, oh, bet we're on the same page. Okay. You do this to me, then it's open season. So it was like, okay, I've seen him this upset before. I just felt bad because Moz is innocent. You know what I mean? And I was like, you guys just broke into their base and assaulted her with no proof that it was her. But I mean, it works just because Bray is supposed to be so super upset, and they rarely ever give us they rarely ever allow Bray to get upset and actually let him just run that line of being upset. And he should be really upset here. He shouldn't be easy to calm down. He shouldn't even be very logical or sensible right now. And so I'm like, okay, his baby mama and his child have just disappeared. I don't expect him to be acting rationally. So
yeah, there's simply said there's one way to get Bray to this level of upset, and that's if it's got something to do with Amber.
Yeah, like even season 1 has that with the way he goes from being a pretty nice guy to when Sasha shows up, he turns into Lex,
Yeah.
because what he wants with Amber is being threatened by this, Jiminy Cricket guy jumping in and making everybody happy. And so it's a consistent thing.
It's typical, though. I mean, it speaks to the connection between Bray and Amber, because we never got a reaction like this to, for example, Danny being killed off. But yeah, well, Danny who, right? But yeah, the way Bray's behaving, though, I'm just glad Pride was there, I guess, because Maz did not, as annoying as he might be, she did not deserve this. Neither did any of the Muzzies deserve to have their place turned over. And even when when Bray says search the place, you see Pride respectfully looking around and Lex just flipping stuff over.
Yeah, I really didn't like that. They were very Gestapo,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like that the narrative doesn't really seem to ever do anything with that. The narrative never seems to look at this behavior as uncalled for and wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, of course it was justified because they think she did it. She's been making threats. And it's just like, this is the justice you're looking for in the city. You just told all these kids off about mob justice, but that's what you just did. You literally just broke into their home of your own volition, just you. This wasn't like you got the city leaders together and they all agreed that Maz should be raided and that she's the most logical suspect. You just did this on your own. And yet when Maz wants to do this stuff, and she actually has the voice of the people backing her, saying they want the same thing, you shout them down. You call them unreasonable and unfair, and they shouldn't want this thing. But the minute you're upset, there are no rules. And I just don't like that the narrative never, villainizes them for doing this, because it's not okay what they've just done. And it's just treated like, well, what did you expect him to do? He's really upset, It's like,
Maz did really take it like a champ, though.
she did. Oh, I would have burnt them all to the ground if I was her.
I was going to say, Maz took that extremely calmly for someone who is awoken from her sleep and raided by more the Morats. Like, she took that so calm. I don't know how she did. Somehow.
Taking that with just an eye roll.
It's a nice little bit of insight as to what kind of leader she actually is. In that moment, she knows her girls are in danger, and she's not going to do anything to endanger them. Notice she doesn't call her Mozzies together. She doesn't ask any of them to step in. She doesn't ask them to stop the boys. She takes the brunt of it all herself, telling them to just basically stand down by her own actions. And I do like that little insight, because when we learn later that she actually does give a damn, like the proof is there that she actually does. And I just like that little twist from Maz being a mouthpiece in a mob to this insight that there's a little bit more going on for Maz and the sort of responsibility she carries as a leader.
Oh, that's fair.
Because you notice her girls are looking to her the whole time this is happening. And none of them are acting. They're just looking to Maz, like, what does she want us to do? And Maz does not once initiate a fight, even though they have every right to. These people just broke into their home. They have every right to beat the crap out of these guys. But I think Maz judged that someone could get hurt, and it's my job to protect them. So she lets Bray scream in her face because they have the upper hand right now.
I mean, did they though? Like, I mean, they're in enemy territory. They have all of the mosquitoes around them. I kind of don't feel that was properly portrayed. Like, they weren't on the back foot here.
I agree with you. There are a few times where I felt like Maz had the upper hand. Why didn't she act on it? Right? Like, why didn't she force the issue when she could have done something, when it's like her whole group against maybe 2 people, and they could easily at least take out one of those people and suffer maybe, little
Just
damage.
pushing back. Yeah, I mean, like,
right.
You not have to.
And so the fact that she hasn't done that yet, I think Eric pointed out that Maz isn't going to take a fight that she can't win 100%. So I'm like, at least it's consistent at this point that she won't do a whole fight that she is not guaranteed to win 100%. Because again, when she ran into Alice and Ned on the street, I wondered, why did she back off? There was like 5 or 6 of them against Alice and Ned, and while Alice might be able to put up a good fight, they could have taken Ned. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I'm just like, why didn't she do anything? And this place, they're literally disarmed. They were in bed when the guys came in,
Mm-hmm.
viewing fire. I just get the sense that she's not going to put her girls in danger if there's not 100% chance that they'll walk away all okay.
I mean, you're making good points. It's just,
You just wish they weren't necessary.
it's just a bit weird. Like just three of them, they're unarmed for starters. There's just three of them waltzing in. Like the mosquitoes have all their weapons and stuff around them. They know the knowledge. They know the land. Like it's their headquarters. It's just. But I understand completely what you're saying about Moz. We're not taking a fight. She wouldn't win, but I don't think she would have lost this. I don't think they would have been hurt in any meaningful way against the three of them. But
I would have liked to see
I get what you're
it.
saying. Mm.
I mean, I'm with you. I would have liked to see them fight back, especially since the narrative doesn't punish the Mallrats for having done this to her. I'm like, you'll notice the Mozzies take a lot of abuse from Bray. And you're just like, why is this okay? What he's doing to her? What? Because she said things he didn't like hearing? You know what I mean? Like, she has the right to say whatever she friggin' wants. It doesn't mean you have the right to assault her again and again and again. You know what I mean? That's not okay. But that's what they keep doing. And I'm like, I definitely would have burnt them all to the ground if they did this to me. I'm like, oh, heck no. I see what your justice is. You guys are the Gestapo, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Not okay.
I mean, and you kind of answered my next question I was going to post to you guys was like, does this make her look weak? But if I see what you're saying about it, it's protecting her tribe and not losing the fight. She wasn't going to win, so.
It just makes the Mallrats look like bullies again.
Yeah.
And the narrative never seems to acknowledge that the Mallrats are the bad guys in these situations, because they get on other people's cases about how you should treat people and how you should treat the guilty and blah, blah, blah. But the minute they think someone's guilty,
But they never do.
yeah, they do not practice what they preach. But again, the whole point is that Bray's not rational. He wouldn't have done this in his rational mind. It doesn't matter. He's still doing it, and he shouldn't be. And there's no consequence for it. It's not okay. I don't care how mad you are, Bray. You broke into their home and assaulted them with no evidence that they were guilty of this crime. Where's your law and order, Bray? I guess it doesn't matter when it's important to you, when you're the one who has been injured. Law and order goes out the window, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how whoever wrote this thinks that's the way real love works. See how much he loves her, you guys?
You know what frustrates me about this is the level of effort they put into it. Find the pregnant Amber, and yes, well, Trudy. But they didn't even put in a tiny shred of effort when it was, his niece.
Amber so much. Don't you get it, Sabine? This is what real love is like.
Yep. Not Danny Who. This is his real love.
This is how much Amber and Bray love each other. That they turn into complete horrible idiots.
And that they get other people to go with them to find the missing people.
Everybody has to suffer because they love each other so much.
And yeah, it's just kind of a side comment. Like, how sad are you that the Mozquitos don't live in a sex shop?
How do you know that's not a sex shop, Lance?
I mean,
How many have you been in, Lance?
Not enough to judge, but it's missing a couple of things in the background. But
They got plenty of splatter guards. That's all I'm saying.
and these are women, Lance. They've packed their stuff nicely away.
I've seen some things in my time, Lance.
Did you like the aesthetics of it?
It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way they sleep in. Oh my god! Once again, you have a tribe leader who just takes their aesthetic to the extreme. Like there's nobody else's personality there. It's like Billy Boy forcing the jackals to live in a place where you can hear dogs howling all the time. Like there are people in this tribe who hate that so much. They can't do anything about it. I love to think of the Moz as just being like, I'd love a real mattress, but she wants us to sleep in suspended cages.
I was gonna say, I mean, it looks fun.
You'll notice she has a real bed, though.
But she has yeah.
And her mosquitoes just are up in the air.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine that your tribe leader, it's just like your whole life is a living art project because this is what they're into?
Oh, yes.
Like, oh my gosh.
I think it was just lovely to see another area, another new set for once, like somewhere new,
Yeah.
someone else's life. It's like we don't get to see that quite often enough.
I'm just trying to think of the costume department trying to dress that setting, that set, and they didn't have a lot of time. They were just like, gauze, lots of gauze. We'll just drape it on everything.
And then all the iridescent stuff.
Okay, let's move on to one of a few Jack moments. So, still unable to connect with Ellie, and with even his apologies not really getting him far, and growing more and more frustrated with how the Chosen have seemed to ruin their lives, Jack takes a moment alone to remember Dal. So yeah, what did you make of him remembering his friend?
Thank you, Jack, for being the one person to care about Dal.
I love these two scenes so much.
Mm-hmm.
They're so thoughtful in their direction. Like the one with him and Ellie, she is specifically looking in a mirror, but not looking at him. Like the way that is shot, we can see every expression on her face, but because she can't face Jack, he can't. And it's purposely filmed that way. We can see all the guilt she's carrying, the shame she's carrying, the lie she's carrying, but Jack doesn't. And it's purposely framed that way. And yet she can look herself in the mirror, but she can't look at him. I thought that was very thoughtful. And again, him going into his old room and it's completely trashed was just a great metaphor of his world being trashed. And this is what he's walking back into. He doesn't even know where to begin to start cleaning it up. Like he picks something up, he looks around, you see his shoulder slump, he just drops it and sits helplessly. I'm like, that is such a great visual representation of his emotional state right now. He walked back into his life. It was like a tornado ran through it, and he doesn't even know where to begin to start picking it up and putting it back together. And then just takes a moment to remember when life made sense to him, his friend would be there. His friend would have advice for him. His friend would talk to him. His friend would have welcomed him home with open arms. And he's not here. Like, oh, perfect. I loved it.
And the exact scenes they chose for remembering Dal, they were perfect.
It was a great scene to choose because in that scene they'd been separated, thinking, oh, I don't need you anymore. And then Dal comes back and they're both playing coy about how much they missed each other, and knowing that'll never happen again. He's never going to reunite with Dal and everything will be the same like it used to be. That's the way it could be with Dal. They could break up, they could go their separate ways and they would come back and everything would be okay, and that will never happen again. Like, oh, I was like, oh, it's so good. So good.
It's everything he was hoping for.
Yeah, he really was. I love even the way the camera is pulled back and watching him almost like a surveillance camera. So it lets you see the whole space and him isolated in the shot, just surrounded by a mess that he can't fix, It's his room is not the comfort it used to be. The place he moved into that specific room when the world ended because it was a comfort to him. And now it doesn't even have that. Like, somebody cared. Somebody really cared when they were framing these shots and telling the story visually.
Yeah.
I didn't even mind the slow-mo and the freeze frame on them slapping their hands together. Like, you got me. You got me.
No, it's a really good moment, and I'm glad it continues from the episode before when he was being told everything about what happened to Dao and the rest of the Morats. So I'm glad they've continued this thread and not just dropped it instantly as like a lot of things.
And it was just good to see Dal's face. Like, I miss you so much, Dal.
I'm just so relieved that they remembered the bond between Jack and Dal, and didn't just go for, oh, Jack's back. Oh, the only person he should care about is Ellie.
Yes, thank you. Like, Jack is literally, and it's such an interesting contrast for Jack of all people, who he didn't thrive on human connection. Remember, the only reason he had Ellie and Dal in his life is because they put up with him, not because he was really making an effort to have them in his life. They were the ones always making the overtures and letting his behavior slide, and to see Jack in a place where he is forced to recognize that the two people who were willing to have him in his life, he doesn't have one of them anymore. And the other one is pulling away from him. Like, that's a really harsh reality to face. And just makes you feel all the more lonely and realize you actually needed those connections and you took them for granted. Now what do you do when you don't have those connections?
Look, I know that everyone around here thinks that I'm only ever out for number one, but I do have feelings.
I know. I'm sorry.
Look, I only do what I do because I'm a survivor. And that's what you've got to be, Celine.
So yeah, panel, how do you feel about Survivor May in this episode?
It's a nice, honest look at May, you know? Again, another 2 scenes I really, really love and I don't have any complaints about. I like Celine's vulnerability. I like that she admits to struggling with caring for a child, especially after the back of losing her own. You know, it used to be so easy for her, and now it's like she loves this kid, but this is really hard. And she's like, I don't know why it's so hard, you know, to look after her, and all these anxieties that she's carrying. And I like that gentle moment between she and May. I like the fact that May acknowledges, I'm sorry. That was wrong, what I did to you. I didn't do it to hurt you. I didn't do it because I didn't care about you, but because, you know, this is just sort of how I'm hardwired to survive. And that's how I can get through these things. And you're going to have to be stronger and be the same so you can get through these things. I like how she validates Celine's experience, that it's okay that it's hard to take care of Brady. You lost a child. Things are different, and that you'll always carry that with you. You know, it was nice. It was just nice to see them reconnecting like that. And I love the scene with May and Pride for the same reasons, you know. Like, I think their body language is really great. The subtle cues they're making in the acting, you know, her flirtation, the way she is, until he literally pushes her away, she's going to keep trying, you know. And then, of course, you have Pride, who is reluctant to push her away. He's hoping my subtle cues of disinterest will be enough till he's forced to say, no, I'm sorry. I don't like you any more than as a friend, you know. And oh, of course, that's what I meant too. Even the dynamic shot of them, the camera moving towards them and then moving away as they walk towards the camera. These are just really thoughtful, and the actors are doing great. I don't have any complaints. I just loved them.
It's just, you know, first off, May and Celine, it's very nice to see that May acknowledges what she did to Celine. Because, you know, no matter how many things we fault Celine for, it was a horrible moment for her to have Brady taken like that and to have that done by people she trusted. So I'm glad May acknowledges to doing that, and also explains to Celine that it wasn't personal. You know, she did what she had to do, what she thought was the right thing to do at that moment. And then, yeah, with Pride, it's nice to see that even though Pride tries to be gentle, he has to explain to this girl that he's just not that into her. And I'm not at all surprised that May instantly goes for the, yeah, no, I meant I like you as a friend as well, you know, because that's her defense mechanism. She isn't going to be like Celine and instantly fall to the ground and start crying with, no, please don't leave me behind. No, that's not May. Oh, I can't even imagine May doing that, honestly.
I even like that it doesn't contradict she and Pride as people. May, she apologizes, but you don't get the sense that she's losing any sleep over what she did to Celine. She you know, she just validates for Celine that, yes, you're right. That was wrong of me. I'm sorry. You know, it wasn't personal, but it's, you know, she wasn't really bothered about having done it to Celine. She's just being graceful to a person she hurt and acknowledging, you're right. That was crappy to do to you. And yet it doesn't make May, you know, the kind of person who does care when she hurts people all that much. And the same thing with Pride. You know, May actually points to him like, well, of course she's nervous about Brady being taken. It's happened before. And Pride just barely acknowledges, yeah, well, that wasn't cool of us to do to her. But even Pride's like, but, you know, like they both just rush it off. Right. You know, and I like that they're acknowledging that what they did was wrong, but they both easily brush off this terrible thing they did because in their minds it was a necessary evil. So whatever, you know. And so I like that. I thought that was a nice way to show who they are as people. They're willing to just do whatever it takes. Integrity be damned. And that's okay as far as they're concerned. They can admit out loud, yeah, that wasn't cool, but had to do it. So
Yeah, but that's just the way it is. Sometimes the hard things have to be done.
I even like the subtle body language of May steering him from the room.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Because, he wanted to check up on Celine. Maybe he would have apologized to her, and who knows? But he wanted to make sure she was okay. And the way May cleverly steers him away, so, she can keep his attention. Like, oh, they're both asleep. I've taken care of them. I'm looking after them. Look at me, Mother Nurture over here, because I feel like it right now. And like, you
I
don't
love
need to
that.
go in there, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me. Walk with me.
That was well done, yeah.
What are you doing?
Having breakfast. You gonna join me? Here, come on, sit down. You, move.
This stuff is for the party.
Yeah? That never happened.
Great day.
Wasting up what not? Just lying around.
Just like you.
And going off.
Just like you.
Shut it.
So yeah, panel, what do you make of Alice being integrated into the family dynamic of Ned and the twins?
I guess this is probably the only scene I can say that I wasn't in love with. But again, I can admit that's because of my prejudice and my bias as to how the Alice Ned storyline has been handled thus far. So that I have to consider that that's part of the problem. As soon as I see them together, I'm like, ugh. Right? But if I just point at the little things I like in the scene, I always love when it's the four of them together. I like that Tally and Andy really do like Alice. They really seem to enjoy their brother being besotted by this girl. And you just get the feeling they don't want him to mess it up because they like having Alice around. They like watching this. And I can relate to that because my little brothers used to love that too. They used to love if my boyfriend and I would include them in stuff. Oh my gosh, they would watch us all day if we let them, And so I like that. I like that little dynamic. But I was grossed out at them eating food that's just literally been left out overnight. I thought it was it grossed me out. Like nobody cleared up the table last night. They just left all that food out there. And it's just, some of it looks like it's dairy products and it's dripping. And I'm like, ew, Alice, don't eat that. It's been out here for 24 hours, unrefrigerated, uncovered. This is disgusting.
They probably ate worse
Yeah.
than the virus.
I mean, that's, you're looking at that scene with the food being out there, with the privilege of, having a refrigerator and
Yeah.
all of those things.
I know.
That's a big difference.
It gave me the ick. I was like, ugh. Ugh. Even the fact that Alice goes, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "We're eating breakfast." And she's just like, "That's for the party." And Ned points at the party that didn't happen. This has been sitting out here, Alice.
We're still going to come back to it later.
We have to eat it before it goes bad.
Yeah, honestly, they have a point with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, in a world like this, you're not going to waste that food.
I can't waste that whole banquet. Yeah.
Give me a break.
Come on.
You're telling me you're not hungry. You're not hungry? Give me a break. Eat something. Even the little jokes about the food having gone off and stuff like that, the twins. There were some moments I thought were cute.
I just really like seeing the faces the twins are pulling.
Yeah.
Which are so fitting for their age.
The twins are fine. They're all great. I love them.
Yes, they are. I don't have any complaints about Ned, about Tally and Andy, except sometimes how they're utilized.
Yeah,
they could have been utilized better, but them themselves.
But in this moment, if you look at this as a separate moment, it's nice. It's them having fun. It's Alice just, Alice with those twins. It's like she's been dealing with Ellie forever, and she's been happy to do that. But I think it makes a nice change for Alice to have younger kids that look up to her the way her sister probably did when she was younger.
One positive thing about the Ned Alice situation in the scene that I do like, and it carries through the whole episode, the one thing I think does make sense in their story. Okay, so let's just say, even if it doesn't make sense and Lance and I hate it, let's just say Alice let her guard down because Ned showed her a nicer side of himself. Even though we agree it wasn't long enough of a time for her to immediately let her guard down with him. Let's just say that's what happened. She let her guard down and told herself, oh, so that a-hole act is his front. I'm used to that. I've known guys like that. I can be that way sometimes too. But there's actually someone decent underneath this. So he showed her that side of himself. He showed her a side of him like, I'm willing to work to escape. I'm willing to put in the effort. You know, I actually have thoughts. I actually have feelings. He's being nice to her. They have a great celebration. They were on the same team. Okay, so she let her guard down and thought, okay, this is who he really is. And then the next morning, he's back to his a-hole self. And now she's got regrets. And then he's coming to her all entitled, expecting to get more. And she has to put him in his place. So now you see her in this scene. She is being appropriately cautious with him, afraid to let her guard down again, because she already did. And he wasn't magically a great guy. He was still a turd. And so now she's being way more careful with her. Like he's like trying to feed her and pamper her. And she's just like keeping him at a distance. Like, I don't need any of that. You can see that she wants to accept his friendly overtures, but she's being careful now. I did like that. Like, okay, that's how she should be with Ned. She should be cautious. He needs to show her on a more consistent basis that he's decent before she can be like, okay, I'm going to let myself fall. You know, I thought that actually was really well done. And I also really liked the subtlety in Ned's acting when she's pointing out how awful Bray feels right now and how concerned they all are that two of their friends literally just disappeared. And you can see Ned, the look on his face is like, I never freaking considered that. I never considered anybody else's feelings when I decided to do this crazy stunt, and is struggling with actually caring with what he's done to these young women and their family. Like, it's just, you look at his face the whole time, every time it gets mentioned how bad everybody feels, Ned almost looks like he's struggling with those kind of emotions. Like, I didn't think of that, and I don't really know what to do with that knowledge that I've made you all feel this terrible. I'm just going to keep shoving it to the back of my brain because this will be over soon and it won't matter.
Yeah, he just clearly did not think about any of that before he acted.
And again, it always brings you back to, why did he want revenge on the Guardian so badly? You know what I mean? Like, what did the Guardian actually ever do to Ned that he would do something like this so that he could see the guy punished? I don't think they did a good job setting that up for someone like Ned to want this kind of revenge, that he'd go this far to get revenge on the Guardian. You know, that feels much more like an Ebony action, or people who are directly involved with the Guardian, or people who lost people just because of what the Guardian did. Ned didn't lose anything. He just got locked down in a building for a couple of weeks, you know, and so it's just like not enough was done
Which
to
he
Ned.
didn't mind.
Right. He didn't mind.
And his action, I mean, had Lex done the same thing, it would have been way more logical.
Yes, it would make way more sense if Lex decided to take the step to get revenge on the guy who he suspects, you know, seduced his wife. You know what I mean? But they didn't do a good job setting up Ned to go this far to get this kind of revenge on the Guardian, that you would do this to all these people.
And yeah, that leads us nicely onto the next scene, because May suggests that it was Lex that could have been involved in the kidnappings.
I was with you when it happened, remember?
You could have had accomplices.
I could have had a lot of things. But if you don't believe me, then what's the point?
I need to know. That's the point.
No, the point is you don't trust me.
Now you know how I feel when you accuse me of caring for the Guardian. You won't believe me when I tell you I care for the Guardian like a nurse or a doctor. So, maybe you're right. If we don't believe in each other, there really is no point in staying married.
So panel, the kind of will they, won't they kind of Ross and Rachel has been going on for a while, but did you believe that this was now the final resolution between the two?
Not the final resolution, but I was glad that they at least had this argument, you know, and that that Tai-San did not trust Lex about this, because why should she? You know, and I don't know, it just felt very fitting for the two of them to finally have an argument about all of this. And yeah, the resolution in the end, I think it went a little too quickly for my liking. You know, I like that they came to that conclusion, but I wouldn't have minded if that took them another episode or 4.
Well, do bear in mind that they have had this kind of argument continuously for
Yeah.
quite a while.
Yeah, but even after something like this, you'd think that Lex would be more upset about her accusing him of something like that, or thinking he would be able to do that.
I really love this. I love the fight, and I don't consider this a resolution so much as the first step to mending. They still don't know what they're going to do about this thing. What matters is that they both made that step to make what actually matters to them. Like in that fight, they both just reached the end of their rope. They're tired of fighting about this. They have not found any common ground on it. And the fear that the other person doesn't really want them, that's been weighing on them, for both of them. Lex that's his insecurity, that his wife doesn't really want him. And her actions are feeding that insecurity. And Tai-San, her husband constantly accusing her of sleeping with the Guardian, or, what her feelings for the Guardian are, regardless of what she says, fuels her fear that he doesn't really want me. That's why he's fighting with me constantly. He's looking for a reason to end things. And so they finally face the fear. They both say, fine, I don't want to do this anymore. And they storm away from each other. And the first step to having a resolution is them admitting the truth. I don't want this to end. I don't know how we're going to fix this, but the first step is just being honest. I'm sorry. I don't want it to end. I lied. I want to fix this. I believe you. I love the fact that it's her who comes to him first. She needed to, because as much as you guys know I love Lex and Tai-San, I can't deny that it's often Lex making the first step towards resolution with the two of them each time. This is very reminiscent of that fight they had in season 2, and they fight all night after his date with Alice and just go back and forth, storming into each other's room. And another thing, and then finally at the end, it's Tai-San who comes to Lex and says, I'm sorry. And they resolve that conflict by admitting how they really feel about each other. Like, oh, this is what was underlying all this tension. We actually have feelings for each other. So for me, them coming to this so quickly made sense. It felt very in character for Lex and Tai-San, that once faced with the fear and the anger and all that stuff, that I loved that it was Tai-San who came to him and immediately just said, I lied. I don't want this to end. And I believe you. And Lex, he's not petty. He's just like, me too. I don't want it to be over, and I believe you too. I actually do. And even the way he says it, oh, Caleb, nice acting. Just the way he said, I do believe you. This isn't easy for me. I'm jealous. I'm freaking jealous of that psychopath that you spend all that time with. You're my wife. You're amazing. And I hate the fact that he has your attention, and I'm jealous. And they don't have an answer yet. But this is the first step to getting to a compromise. I loved it. Oh, it's one of my favorite Tai-San Lex moments. And it's romantic. Oh. Even without a kiss, I was like, don't ruin this for me. I love this moment so much. I even love the way it's shot from their different points of view, and the way he reaches for her.
The perspective is good, yeah.
Yeah, just that he leans back, but his arm leans in. Oh my gosh, I love it. And it's like, yeah, we still don't have an answer to what we're going to do about this Guardian thing, but what matters is that we're telling each other, I choose you. So we'll find a way to make this work out, because they both reassured the other, you're my first choice. Let's never let him come between us again. You got it, mama. We won't. You know what I mean? And there's such a good example of a healthy relationship.
Well, the best in this show. We're going to have fun.
The best the show has to offer, I mean.
I do have to say though, I did laugh because I do feel like Tai-San, just going a bit earlier on, Tai-San's a bit petty because she was making the Guardian this massive meal from scratch. I was like, you are digging it in, love.
I know. I was like, all of that is for him.
Yeah.
Really? Is this his daily ration? Maybe I could get it. Like, this is his food for the whole day, but you couldn't offer your husband a bowl of that porridge.
No. It's for the Guardian.
Sure, hun, you can have a little. I made plenty. I'm gonna bring the Guardian some, but you can have some.
That just made me laugh. I was like, Tai-San.
That porridge would have fed all of you in season 1 for a meal. Everybody would have had some of that.
I keep thinking of what Amber would say if we give in to them. She's the one who said a sick man can't stand trial.
That's all very well, but there's the baby to consider now.
Yeah, but if we hand the guardian over, that'll be a death sentence. She wouldn't agree with that.
So yeah, what did you make of Bray's dilemma here?
Wonder if Pride would feel this strongly about Bray not wanting to break his morals or Amber's trust if it wasn't Amber. If it were somebody else that Pride didn't care about. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just wonder about that. Like, if he's acting like Bray, you have to do this because it's your woman and your baby, you know? But I just wonder, what if this were like Trudy? And it was Trudy's wishes that the guardian not be harmed or something, and Bray was struggling with that. Like, would Pride care? Would he be like, no, you have to do it anyway? Because we know he doesn't really care about Trudy like that, So I do wonder about that. Like, how selfish is this? You know what I mean? Like, how much of this is just about the fact that Pride is in love with Amber and he wants her back. So he expects Bray to do whatever it takes to get her back, regardless of how Amber might feel about his methods.
True.
And I do think it's
a tricky one.
I think it's important to acknowledge. Now, granted, you guys know I'm not a Bramber. I don't give a crap who Amber ends up with at the end of the day. All right, I'm not Team Pride or Team Bray. I don't care. All right, I don't give a crap. But I do think this is an actual good illustration as to which of them knows her better as a person. That Bray actually is considering how Amber will feel if she finds out her salvation was at the hands of the death of another person. Where Pride didn't know Amber at all. What he knew was a lie. She gave him a show. She lied about almost everything she was to Pride. He doesn't know, and he doesn't seem to care how she'd feel if her life was bought with the blood of another person who she fought for.
Yeah.
I just think that's interesting, like right there.
Yeah.
Like, Bray has a dilemma because he actually knows Amber and he actually cares about what Amber feels about the world. Amber is what encouraged him to be a better version of himself. Ever since he met her, he's been trying to be a better version for her. Pride doesn't seem to care about that at all. I'm not saying that makes either of them a better or worse person. Just says a lot about.
It does. Oh, Bram.
No. I'm just saying, like.
Sorry, yeah.
I'm not villainizing or heroicizing either of them. Just say this is very interesting and very important to note about their characters and their relationship with Amber.
Yeah, sorry, I'm with Pride on this. This isn't just about what Amber wants. This is about an innocent little baby there. And he has to take that into consideration.
That's just it. Bray is taking it into consideration. That's why he's actually struggling with this. Like, I think that's important to recognize. Bray wouldn't be having a struggle if it was like an easy decision for him to make, if he wasn't thinking of all of the angles. He's struggling because he's thinking, yes, I want Amber. I want my baby back. I want the mother of my niece back. You know, like, I want them back. But to do so is to literally go against the heart of this person I claim to love.
Yeah.
How will they feel if I do this? I'm not saying what decision he makes is right or wrong or who I agree with. I'm saying that he actually has a struggle because he's considering all these things, where for Pride, he is not considering anything other than I want Amber back. So it's not a struggle for him at all. Those are just very interesting viewpoints to look at and recognize. I would trade the Guardian. I'd be like, I'll ask for forgiveness later. I know you're going to be really mad at me for having done this.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to fault Bray for struggling
But
with
you're
that
safe.
decision. You know, again, I never agreed with the way they've been handling the Guardian anyway.
Nope.
Of all the people to be protected on the planet, I don't feel the Guardian deserves your protection.
Nope.
I'm a terrible person. Whatever. I don't care. No, we're not trading in these lives for this guy. Amber will just have to be mad at me. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Mad. But I'm not going to like fault Bray for actually struggling with it. Again, it just says he's actually considering how Amber would feel about it. And he loves her enough to care about how she'll feel about it. You know? And I do like that he says that to Pride. I know her better than you. And he's right. Sorry, Pride. Bray actually does know her better than you do. Not saying that's a whole lot, but he does know her better than you do. You didn't even know she wouldn't go back to the guy in Pride. You don't know this woman at all. You don't know her. You don't know what she wants out of life. You really
Nope.
don't. She is just your Madonna, your Pygmalion. You don't know her as a person. He didn't consider for a second how Amber would feel about this. He didn't even remember that Amber straight up said, I would rather die than hand over the Guardian, because it doesn't matter to him. What he wants is what matters. And again, not saying he's a bad person for that. Just if there's an argument to be made, Bray knows the woman he loves way better than Pride does. I do feel bad for Bray's dilemma. That's not a fun one to have. Like, I know what decision I'd make. It doesn't mean it'd be a simple, easy one. It doesn't mean I wouldn't feel any guilt for doing this. It doesn't mean I wouldn't be wary of how Amber was going to feel when I did this thing. But I still feel bad that he is stuck in this moral quandary. Do I do what's right by her, or do I do what's right by the majority? There are more people to consider than just Amber here. As much as this is what she would want, I have to think of more than what she would want. I have a child to think about. Again, my niece's mother is in this situation as well.
Exactly, yeah. Don't forget that.
And she's just been through hell and back.
Right. He does have so much to consider, and I don't envy him having to make this decision and disappoint at least someone. And in the end, he'd have to disappoint the one person he doesn't want to disappoint. But sometimes doing things for the greater good ends up like that, And so, yeah, I do feel bad for him.
Okay, cool. That brings us to our final thoughts of the episode.
No, it wasn't like that. She was trying to make things easier for the mall rats, that's all.
And, you saw your chance, right?
Look, nothing happened. Except I found that I really do care for her.
Oh, that's supposed to make me feel better. Oh, that's good.
So, panel, what do you make of Jack having to discover things on his own, and obviously his reaction to it?
I'm so sorry, Jack.
Poor Jack.
But again, these are some awesome scenes. These are really well done. I love the scene with him and Celine. Again, it's shot where Celine can't look him in the face.
Yeah.
So we can see her expressions, but Jack can't. I actually like the fact that she's being as honest with him as she actually can. She doesn't do any speculating. She doesn't go any gossip. She tells him, I believe he has feelings for her, but I can't tell you what Ellie's feelings are for him. Because Ellie has never confided in Celine about how she feels about Luke. She's not lying to him. But I like the fact she actually looks like she's struggling with it, wanting to tell her friend as much of the truth as she can. But she's actually considering other people and how they'll be affected, which, bravo, Celine. Like, that's a first for you. Like, that's really mature to be thinking of other people. She could have been petty. She could have totally thrown Ellie and Luke under the bus because Luke didn't choose her. But she doesn't. She doesn't make this about her. She's actually thinking, I don't know the right way to handle this. I don't want to hurt Jack. I'll tell him as much as I can tell him that I officially know. I know that he has feelings for her. I don't know how she feels about him. I don't know what else to tell you. I wasn't around a lot. I wasn't in my right headspace anyway, and yet she looks like she feels guilty that she can't be more involved or help him in this conundrum. I just thought that was really well done, and a nice moment for Celine of actually thinking of someone other than herself, And then I love the moment between Ellie and Luke, Ellie confessing her struggles and coming to her decision that, yes, I have to let you go. And Luke being like, yes, you have to let me go. You could almost, like, if you ignored everything that comes after, you could just say this is their moment to say goodbye to each other officially. And they are owed that moment to make it official. Yes, goodbye. You know what I mean? And Luke trying to reaffirm, nothing happened, Ellie. This wasn't your fault. What happened between us? Go live your life and be happy. I want that for you. And Ellie saying, yes, I have to let you go. I'm going to be with Jack. And the guilt she feels, and acknowledging I feel like a terrible person because he doesn't deserve how I'm treating him and all that stuff. And poor Jack seeing this intimate moment and putting things together in his head. He doesn't have a whole picture, but he's like, something happened. I loved him warning Luke off. I liked Luke being perfectly honest with Jack, even if he has the audacity to say, Ellie came on to me, but at least he clarified.
Oh, yes.
Right? Yes, because it was so even like that. It's not like she wasn't your slave or anything. But I do like that he clarifies. Look, she didn't do it because she was crazy about me or anything. She did it because she was trying to make life easier for everybody. You know what I mean? And I fell for her. Okay. Like, I did appreciate him being man enough to just lay it out for Jack. And I like how Jack was just like, oh, so you took advantage. Because yes, Jack, he totally did. That's exactly what he did. Took advantage of the situation.
Yep.
And then Jack warning him off. Now, Jack has never been intimidated.
No.
But I gotta say, in this moment, Michael nailed it. I was just like...
Yep. I was going to say, never before, but this, I was like, okay, Jack. I'd be scared.
Jack was like, bet. Like, I wish a mother would. Like, you go near her again, I swear to God. You know what I mean? If the mob out there doesn't get you, I will. And I was like, Luke, you better watch yourself.
Because that boy is ready to take lessons from Lex if he has to.
Jack has seen some things.
Yeah, we don't know what he's been through.
I liked it because it really spoke to, like, everything in this episode is showing you everything Jack lost. Ellie is literally the last thing he had. So for him to reach that point to say, I will mess you up if you try to take this from me. I am not letting that go. I was like, okay, Team Jack, yeah!
And him just simply pointing out to Luke, you know, oh, so you shipped me off so I was out of the way?
The flow of that conversation is great.
That was good, yeah.
Yeah, you shipped me out, and he's like, no, that's not how it happened. And then he explained, and he's like, oh, so you just took advantage of my absence. You know, like, you're keeping up, Jack. You're keeping up. Well done. I loved it. Nothing irrelevant was said. And this was a really tight conversation. And the actors killed it.
And it's really Jack.
Oh, it was good.
It's so Jack.
I even love the fact that Luke is looking at Jack like, I'm tempted to take you on this. Because I do want her. You know what I mean? I'm trying real hard to be honorable right now, man. But I'm willing to fight you for her. Like, it was good. It was the tension between the actors was fantastic. Oh my gosh, this is great. And they've never had any scenes together. Like, they just pulled this out.
Yeah.
Wow. What a strong scene to end on. Jack is like, I love him when you call me Big Papa. Yes. Come on. He was about that action. Jack's like, I want all the smoke.
This is, you know, it's episodes like this that make me really love Jack even more.
Viewer, this is a shiny diamond in the tail end of season 3. Like, this, that's why I was like, I like this episode, you guys. This is a good episode. This is great. The writing was just on point here. Characterization. Oh, this is a great episode. Luke is looking at Jack like, you don't know how much your girl wants my junk. But I'm trying to be honorable, so I ain't gonna say that.
Oh my god.
Him just spinning us. He tried to use me.
That brings Series 3, Episode 38 to a close. Thank you very much to the panel. And as always, if you'd like to take part in a future episode of the podcast, or even to leave us a message, please leave us a message on our Facebook page, on our website, or on Instagram, thetribe.co.uk. So we'll see you next time for episode 39. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Bye.